When it comes to my own personal growth, I guess through this whole student teaching process, I would have to say I have grown incredibly. My second week here, I actually was thrown into the deep end. My matchup teacher was sick. We had subs for several days. And this forced me right away to kind of get over my fear, to get over how quiet and shy and timid I have been in the past professional development courses, where I was just kind of circulating and being a teacher's aide. Instead, I had to jump in. I had to take over and kind of really help the sub out, or just kind of leave the sub to the side and take over. I had to do a reteach. We were jumping into argument right away. And they needed to know ethos, pathos, logos. They needed to know what a counterclaim and claim were. They needed to do rebuttals, refutations, all of these very complicated things that I didn't learn until high school. They had to start doing and processing, and this was challenging. And on top of that, the teacher's not there. So I really had to pull from my own experience, being a debater, being on forensics, and being a teacher, and just use all the tools I knew about management, which, believe me, wasn't the strongest at the beginning. That first week where Mr. Parker was gone, that was rough. Kids tested me. They were loud. They'd talk over me. They did everything to push the boundaries and get away with what they could because they thought they could. But that gave me thicker skin. Being that scared and being thrown in so quickly, I had to grow quicker and adapt in the moment. I learned that a lot of things that were in me were there all along, but they just hadn't come out yet. So my management had to buckle down. I had to, instead of talking over, I talked quieter, making them, pay attention and demand that respect from them instead of just playing a game of who can talk louder. And this was hard with first hour. They were a huge class, 33, chatty, defiant, social 8th graders. And I love them, but they have been my biggest challenge of just calming them down and getting them to work and getting them to be on task and getting them to stay in their seats. And so I just had to pull from every single thing that I have learned about, choice theory and about management styles, love and logic, all of these things that I knew in theory but hadn't, used came out. And I just became that much more confident in myself, in my practice, in my pedagogy. I believe in my students and I give them a voice, and I believe in those relationships, and those are things that I was able to make right away because I had to. I couldn't be there the second week of school and just be, hey, you move over there, and it was really hard. So I needed to know their names. I needed to know who they were and what they were interested in, because those relationships and who they are as people is important to me. It's paramount importance. It's just the biggest thing. And so that just was strengthened. My management skills were strengthened. My confidence grew enormously. And I remember when Mr. Parker got back, he could just tell. He knew from the first week to the third week, he just saw this huge growth, and he pulled me aside and he's like, yeah, you're doing great. You're not as afraid anymore, and it shows. And so that was incredible to hear. There was another lesson I was doing on narrative, which was the first lesson I pretty much planned completely on my own, because they did sketch to stretch with Animal Farm, and that's kind of more of a departmental requirement and stuff. So I was just following through with what Kennard has done in the past, but then I was finally getting a lesson that came completely from me. It wasn't piggybacked off something else that happened or something that needed to happen. It was just organically me. And I remember Mr. Parker said, you found your teacher's voice. You found it today in that lesson. This is when it happened. And that was incredible to hear also, because it's like, oh, this confidence is showing. And, I was able to move around more in this classroom and be a little bit more goofy and actually use proxy mix, use the space, not just stand, instruct from the back of the room, from the front of the room, go up and down. Like, I always had good circulation and checking in with the students, but it was the confidence to just get away from that middle point and to actually just talk to them. Instead of lecturing them, just talk to them, just teach them. And that was what I was able to do. And so my goals from here on out are to keep jumping in, to keep building those relationships, to keep doing everything that I have been doing, but just do more of it. I want to get more involved. I want to talk with my students more. I'm planning to stay on for the rest of the year just so I can see how CMAS goes and how the end of the year wraps up. And just so I don't leave my kids, I don't want to leave them in the middle of their semester when those relationships are so strong. I want to see them off to high school because they might not know, but I care so greatly about them. They are my world. They are the reason I get up. They are the reason I want to teach. And so, of course, I'm going to stay, and I'm going to see that through. And so those are my goals, to just keep growing, to keep being unafraid, and to keep challenging myself, and to remember that, I'm stronger and smarter and more confident than I ever have been before, and to keep honing my skills, honing my craft, and just being creative and having fun. This would just be so hard if it wasn't fun, but I'm thankful that being at the school and being with these kids is just a blast. So